What is up, everybody? My name is Richard Terrell. I go by Kirby Kid, and you are watching Dio Live, a daily stream show, even though it hasn't exactly been daily the last few days. A lot of the conversation that we have on our Discord channel flows into these live streams in which you can talk to us, ask questions, even suggest things, and we can explore the concepts together. But a lot of times we just have really good conversations on the Discord channel anyway, so if I feel like we say something really cool and go to some really interesting places there, I don't feel the need to stream after that because, we're all tired and move on with our lives. But we're in the middle of a long series here talking about combat. We're doing a deep dive zoom in on skill. As I explained in every broadcast, I made this Descartes skill system. You can see the letters there. And it has 5 parts to it. We covered dexterity, knowledge, reflex, timing in the previous few broadcasts, and now we're covering adaptation. But as you can see here, adaptation has no breakdown, no hexagon 6-part breakdown. That's because adaptation is really the in-between of all these other skills. That's why I made it rainbow color, because it's kind of like all of them. So the basic concept that I came up with, you can have adaptation within a single skill or facet. So you can be like, just with my knowledge, oh no, this is too much for my short-term memory, right over here. It's too much for my short-term memory, I gotta put it in my long-term memory. Well, that's a type of adaptation, right? Recognizing that each of these facets of your skill have limitations, and knowing when to stress one or switch or focus on one when the other one either is coming up short or will come up short. That's pretty much a natural thing we do, but it's a big deal, and it's good to talk about. So, I have this little Bulbasaur, Ivysaur. Ivysaur is my favorite Pokemon. Venusaur picture made by Marina. A long time ago I made this post, so like 8 years ago. But they just kind of representing the different tiers of adaptation. So tier 1, we're just a little Bulbasaur. We're talking about within a facet, just like I explained. But tier 2, we're a little bit more evolved and things get a little bit more complicated. So adapting between 2 skills is what tier 2 is, right? So you're like, oh no, my timing here, internal static sense of timing for a challenge that's coming up, is not there. I can tell it's not there because I'm examining my long-term memory. I'm gonna make up the difference, and hopefully by mashing the button I'll be able to get the right timing, even though I don't know the right exact timing. Like, see how you can compensate for a lacking skill here by doing something up here? We do this all the time. I mean, a natural thing we do when playing games is before we know the exact timing, we just double tap or triple tap or just keep tapping. It's because video games typically are designed where if the button does something and it's not the right time to do that, nothing happens. So like, if nothing happens when it's not the right time and something happens when it can happen, I'm just gonna mash it, right? And then I'll slowly refine what the timing is over time. People do that all the time. That's why I greatly encourage people not to worry about mashing. Like, it's a higher level sort of intelligent technique that we do in order to most likely and hopefully move to some more conscious skill-based application. But that's just a basic example of adaptation between 2 different skills. For other games, blah 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 blah, I explain as much here. So and then the final one is a shift in the entire skill spectrum. And I wrote here, we use our skills to manipulate the world, virtual or otherwise. From the tier 2 description, we know that understanding how our skills are applied requires an understanding of the task or system at hand. This means that the external activity puts... I'll just zoom in there so you can read it better. This means that the external activity puts our skill into focus by setting the relative effectiveness. To complicate things further, any given activity or game challenge beyond some of the most simple tests found in the 4 skill games release rarely test just one skill or even a fixed ratio of skill. In fact, the more emergent and dynamic a system, the more likely one can use multiple skills in a variety of proportions to accomplish the task. So basically I'm saying the Descartes skills were designed to pretty much only test one of these types of skill at a time, but in real life things are so complicated that you're most likely going to be able to apply a range of different skills to get something done, and the combination and proportion of that can change. So again, adaptation's all rainbow colored here. I made this graphic before I made this graphic, but it's all the same. So that's essentially what we're talking about with adaptation. I feel like it's something so natural and something that we do so instinctively that it kind of can be easy to gloss over. But when you break things down like this, tier 1, 2, and 3 adaptation, and when you understand the D-card skill spectrum better, you can actually get a better sense of how much energy it takes to stress dexterity versus your timing, or like how quickly can you recognize that you need to make a shift and how effective are those shifts. There's a whole range of sort of considerations that you won't be able to do if you just kind of leave everything to your sort of unconscious intuition. So the D-card system really does help for understanding just about everything that we do that is skill related. So knowing that, there were some more breakthroughs that I went through towards the end of this examination series, right? We're in part 17, believe it or not. And this is some of the things I started thinking about game design and skill on a very broad level, right? So I established some pseudo math here, some variables. If t equals game speed, and a is the constant of agency, which is a conceptual figure that frames the upper range of the player's agency, and the player's capacity to act. This figure is based on the following truths. I explain a couple of things here, and use the D-card system. As you can see, here's a D, K, and arch right here, and just talk about like how we're able to even express these kinds of things in the first place. Like, you need to be able to manipulate something to even have dexterity to be a factor. You need to have, a complex system in play to have knowledge really be a factor. The capacity to adapt and respond reflexively or time things are all dependent on game time and other such things. So just kind of setting the groundwork here for understanding exactly what games are doing. And then I started to try to put together some little phrases, right? Like, as game time increases to infinity, the dexterity, your ability to express dexterity skills decrease to 0, right? So if you just imagine, a game like classic games like Space Invaders and Pac-Man and so many others and Tetris speed up to make their difficulty harder. But if you think, like, what happens if we make it even faster and even faster and faster and faster? Well, like, there's a limit there, right? Computers can only process things so fast. There's a limit to how fast electricity even can travel and process through our processors. And then if you even push it beyond that, even if you can think about it, that means you just have no ability to act over greater and greater sort of chunks of game time. And if you keep expanding that as it goes to infinity, you're like, well, if games go faster, I actually can't express my dexterity more and more. So then when you realize that at a high extreme level, you have no expression of dexterity, that sort of should let you understand that across the entire range of speeds for your game, it's a continual thing, right? It's not just you have all the ability to express dexterity and then all of a sudden you have 0. It's a smooth decline, some kind of smooth decline. So that's an important concept. As your game time increases to infinity, your knowledge remains the same, right? So it doesn't really matter how fast the game is moving. Your strategies that you have, the way you understand what you already understand, the information in your head is unaffected, right? So even if a movie is played at super fast time, if you've seen it already, it makes sense to you. You're not questioning things. You're just like, oh, that's that part, that part, that part. Even if you cut up a movie and show it out of order, you can still make sense of it because you have the order in your head. So that's just kind of an interesting way of understanding the difference between knowledge and dexterity. As time increases to infinity, adaptation and knowledge, the expression of knowledge that you use to adapt to the current situation, to changing conditions, that trends towards guesswork, right? So the knowledge in your head is constant, but your ability to apply that to relevant things happening becomes harder and harder, to where it's so impossible you're just guessing. Like, well, most of the time the enemy jumps, and because I can't react to it, I'm just going to assume he jumps and stuff like that. So even though your knowledge is constant, again, your ability to apply it suffers as game time increases. As game time increases to infinity, your reflexes drop to 0. It's just like dexterity. As game time increases, your timing drops to 0. From these expressions, we can understand that T game speed affects how effective our skills are in disproportionate ways. This is a perfect example of how Tier 3 adaptation comes into play with video games. Whether you have a change in game speed, adjusting it involves whenever you have a change in game speed, adjusting involves Tier 3 adaptation. In the above effects, we can look at the ways players augment one skill for another with Tier 2 adaptation as game speed increases to infinity. So reflexes can be augmented with knowledge, like when you can't react to things, like, well, 80% of the time it does this, so I'm going to go ahead and bank on that 80%. Like, so when you can't react, you rely on knowledge. When your reflexes can also be augmented with adaptation. So even if the adaptation is pushed to a point where one must simply guess correctly to be successful, making an educated guessing correctly still beats basically not doing anything because you can't react to it, right? So reflexes looks like it's the first thing to fall apart when game speed increases. I'll just move this. And then we have timing can be augmented with dexterity. Like I explained before, if you don't know the timing necessarily get you, or you get out of sync, depending on how the mechanics are designed, you can increase your success by button mashing or doing other such things. Dexterity can be augmented with knowledge. If you can't input accurately enough because of the increase in game speed, there may be strategic workarounds. Whether you add or drop a few moves or change your entire strategy, the better you understand the game system, the more successful the augmentation process can be. And knowledge cannot be augmented with any other skill. So this is kind of like why we say that knowledge is the foundation of all the other skills. I mean, really, you use your knowledge of your body, and your knowledge of yourself, and your knowledge of the game or the systems all the time anyway. So it's always like in the background. But this is another way of expressing that, you know, no matter what happens to the outside world, the knowledge inside of you is constant. But because it's constant, you can't really supplement it with anything else. I mean, that's kind of like maybe it's a correlation, not necessarily causal. Doesn't matter. You'll notice that all the augmenting that can be done with Tier 2 adaptation puts a great emphasis on knowledge, greater and greater emphasis on knowledge and adaptation guessing. While the design-wise, this trend can be a key part of a game's challenge in the overall game experience. From my experience, there are many games that suffer from featuring game speeds that work against the full skill spectrum. So basically what I'm saying here is when games are too fast, you're actually testing less skills. And some people think like, oh, you know, I got to practice more. I got to memorize the level. I got to, you know, that's why it's hard because I got to put more time into it. Yeah, we get it. Now that we have the language to explain it, you're basically saying instead of using your full range of skills, including timing and dexterity and reflex and other kinds of adaptation between those things, we're going to make this game so hard to learn, so hard to beat, that the only thing you can do is slowly memorize the correct way to play. So if you have a game like that, that's not a good thing, right? And like I said here, you can do some of this for stylistic reasons, but in general, I feel like a lot of game designers show their weakness, their lack of understanding of design and challenge and what makes these things interesting when they make their game so hard that you're just like, oh, guess, trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, guess and check, memorize, go. So that's a lot of the reasons why what we discussed is why my taste for certain kinds of action games and clarity of action and cleanness and individual moves and things not being so fast and flashy, like it comes from this, a deep understanding that you really aren't doing as much and you really can't express yourself as much if you only stress basically the one, if you overstress knowledge skills in an action game, right, in a combat game. Strategy games are different. They're designed only to stress knowledge skills. So we're really talking about an action game context, a combat action game. So here are more expressions. The disproportionate decay of the skill spectrum as game speed increases is similar to how Newtonian physics break down on a larger scale, and as the speed approaches the speed of light. Newtonian physics also break down on the quantum level in a very different way. With that said, let's take a look at what happens to K, the constant of agency, you know, your ability to express yourself, as T decreases and slows down, right? So as your game time slows down, your dexterity actually increases. Your ability to express yourself with dexterity increases to infinity. You'd imagine a frozen game time. If a frozen game time is like near frozen or super slow, that means, you know, for every frame of the game that's advancing, you can button mash like crazy and essentially overload the amount of input that the video game can't even receive on a frame anyway. You can apply any amount of pressure or fine-tune almost any amount of input because you have so much more time to do so. So basically, the more time you're given to do stuff, the more range of different kinds of things you can express with your dexterity. As time decreases, your knowledge is constant, or your knowledge plus or minus K. What does this even mean? This one is tricky in a subtle way. As the game speed slows, all of your long-term knowledge is unaffected. In general, real-time video games are designed to fill our awareness or short-term memory capacity. So as the game speed decreases, more real-time passes compared to game time. This means that at some point, holding the incoming information in your mind requires using long-term memory instead of short-term. This is significant because the bridge between short-term and long-term is elusive and hard to fully understand, and we have to also take into account that making this jump can be different for each person. So I imagine that using more long-term than short-term gives players an out-of-body type sensation when they are taken out of the game. So depending on one's knowledge skill, simply taking in the input and processing the information may raise or lower one's ability to express knowledge skill. Another way of saying that is, if somebody gives you some numbers to memorize, like a phone number real quick, if they say to you and you say it back immediately, that's when it's most easy. That's right when it's fresh in your short-term memory. But if they tell you and you got to do all this other stuff and go about your day and worry about other things, it becomes harder and harder to hold it or even remember it. So then you might want to try to store it in long-term memory. But again, that process requires using two facets of knowledge skill, right? Two. And if it does two, that's already tier 1 adaptation just to perceive it in the first place, which can be more difficult in a lot of ways or more useful in a lot of ways. It kind of depends if that information was really relevant for long-term memory or it should have just been forgotten quickly after it was exposed. So plus or minus, it's a toss-up. So as the game time decreases to infinity, your ability to adapt with knowledge goes from infinity to the summation of your timing skills. So let me just read what this says. Chances are we've all experienced bullet time and slowdown in at least one game. When the game moves slower in these moments, players have more time to think and use the extra knowledge to adapt. The slower the game moves, the greater one's ability to see and adapt becomes. However, in many games, player mechanics have animations moves that limit player control until the animation ends. During these animations, even if you can see a threat coming, you can't make any adjustments until the animation is over, and this is why I express that knowledge-based adaptation increases to infinity while being offset by the game's timing elements. Okay, so that's what that means. So just because you can see it coming doesn't mean you can do anything about it. I think Rock Lee and Sasuke learned that lesson the hard way when he was first fighting Rock Lee, and Sasuke's like, I got a Sharingan, and Rock Lee's like, doesn't matter if you can't block my hit, right? Classic, right? Or in Cowboy Bebop where Asimov does the red eye, and it's like you trust your eyes too much, you can't see everywhere at once, so even though your hyper senses are going like crazy, just the fact that you have limited vision means you're still limited in some ways, which can be exploited. Anime loves to play on these different ideas and how one's ability to do something or specialize will almost always have pros and cons. And that's just why anime is really cool. They pay attention to those kind of systemic interplay and structural details. So that's what this is basically expressing. Even if the game moves super slow, if you just can't do anything about the new information that you get because it's moving so slow, then there's something you can do regardless. So as game time decreases into infinity, gets slower and slower, your reflexes get better and better. It's just basically slowing things down. You can do stuff. This might ruin games that require double-blind interplay like Street Fighter. The wake-up game is filled with double-blind mix-ups, but if you take this example and slow the game speed significantly, it becomes possible to see certain choices coming with enough time to react and counter them. At slower speeds, the new tales and strategies would become viable, while others would become utterly obsolete. How many and grow and how many shrink? Hard to say. As the game time slows down to infinity, timing skills go from T1 divided by T2 times T. Let's see what this even means. This expression helps explain the phenomena of why it doesn't necessarily feel slower to play a game when the game speed drops. Not only are one's internal mental processes outside the game system unaffected, which helps create a sense of consistency as the game speed changes, but according to this expression, the timing challenge merely shifts as the game speed drops. The shift is denoted by T1 divided by T2. In other words, if it takes 1 second to execute a particular attack, at half the game speed, it would take 2 seconds. At a third of the game speed, it would take 3 seconds. The difference between 1, 2, and 3 second the difference between 1, 2, or 3 second challenge may seem significant, but they all stress the same sense of static internal and external timing. In other words, it takes about the same skill to time 3 regular beats, 1, 2, 3, as it does 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like it's all about the same, right? Furthermore, while counting 3, 4, 5 beats, the engagement level of the player remains fairly constant. So that's why it's really cool to sort of clap to a beat, or keep a steady beat, or listen to music, or walk to a beat. You kind of like sink into it, and then you don't notice necessarily the passage of time changing because of the sort of loops and repetitions kind of fold in on themselves. So even if you slow a game down, it doesn't necessarily mean that the timing that you feel when playing it is going to be slow. It could actually remain fairly the same feel, fairly constant, depending on that ratio of, depending on the ratio of T1 over T2. That's really the best way to explain it. It's a kind of a abstract theoretical concept, but if you think about it in terms of a rhythm game, they speed things up and slow things down all the time, and sometimes you go double speed, but then it's like the same. And then when you go for slower speeds, you subdivide to keep the beat. And again, if you subdivide, if your subdivisions are big enough, it's just like counting on the same beat anyway. And when you're playing a whole song where there's many beats in a row, it's just like, what's the difference? It doesn't really feel that different. Bullet Time by Terry Kavanaugh. Whee! Okay, so some games are designed around normal and slow game speeds. Any game with bullet time, including the bullet time game, see above. Wii Sports Boxing, special dodges, they slow things down so you can react. Bang Out Spirit does cool stuff with slow down, blah, 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 blah. I talk a lot about that. So here's the last part. Yeah, I just explained some stuff. Really, so those are all the really cool insights that I found when using the Descartes system and thinking about skill very carefully. A lot more things don't become a mystery. A lot of things stop becoming a mystery, and you're just like, oh, I see, this is how it works. And when you see it more clearly, you take better observations, your expectations are more accurate, and then that kind of is a positive feedback loop for the rest of your learning process. So what I'm going to show you here, let's hope this is not too loud. I'll check the sound real quick. Oop. I was actually streaming. Not too loud. I'll check. No, that's actually whatever. So, adaptation. One way to think about adaptation is like, oh, you mean learning over time? You're like, not exactly. I guess one thing I didn't actually express is the difference between learning and adaptation. Adaptation is how you use the skills you already have. Learning is in a lot of ways is acquiring new skills, new information, new blah 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 blah. So I'm going to training mode. Pac-Man, you're so cool. What up, Pac-Man? What up? And Diddy. So this is a training I've been doing on my 3DS. 3DS here. Been playing this particular setup for like 15 hours, just labbing it, exploring it, seeing what I can see. So in a lot of ways, I think as I explained in my 17-part series, 15. It's been 15 years of Smash? 20 years. Oh my gosh. In 20 years of Smash, one thing that I expressed was how bad this training mode is and how it's hard to get a good practice on these bad AI, and they're not human players anyway, so like, you don't have a lot of good training mode tools in order to improve. But then sometimes I feel like that's just an excuse I'm making. So this is what I've been doing. I've been playing this Diddy, and what I like to do a lot of times is lab some moves. Like, did you know this down air? People think this move is pretty bad, and it doesn't do a lot of damage. It's not very sticky, so the enemies can get out. And you're like, wow, this move does seem really bad. Well, one thing I learned is if you time it just right, you can combo. See that on the top right? I'll help you guys out if you're not used to seeing this this data here. Right here, combo. So you're like, oh, almost. There's so few moves in the game that send your opponent in enough hit stun at 0 or close to 0 damage that you can jump and combo them up afterwards like that. The move has to have a lot of base knockback, and this move does. So you're like, oh, that's cool. So I learned that you can combo this, and then you can follow that up with different things, maybe even a footstool. And I'm just like learning the different extremes, like the different ranges in which this strategy is even applicable. No, water! I want to punch you like an ultimate. Okay, so not having anyone to play Smash with, and really not having the dedication and the drive to go out to tournaments like I used to when I was a kiddo. This is what I've been doing. I put the computer, I find a combo, like, look, this is one I've just been working on. Well, at 40 damage, so let me just pimp my own website here for a second. Smash. So one thing that's hard about Smash is the dynamic cumulative knockback. It means that the combos that you want to do may only work for a small window of time, and understanding what that window is a matter of, you know, getting a feel for the game, right? So if I type in Pac-Man here, which is one of my favorite characters in the game, and I do a searchy search, and I look at the tech spread, these are all the latest like 30 pieces of tech I put in, and most of the interesting things happen around 40 damage to 80 damage. So you're like, oh, that's not too hard to get my opponent to 40 damage. What kind of things can I do? Like, good question. These are some new ones I entered just today from T, a Pac-Man player I didn't know about, but that's cool. Next. Yeah, we don't need to look up the combo specifically, but I'll show you some that I've been working. So if you do this, and you grab this bell, if you dash attack, you can combo into bell and then follow that up with another hit. You're like, wow, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, it is pretty crazy. In fact, at 40 damage, which is low damage, you can even, this control is a little weird, dash attack into Galaga, and then follow Galaga up. Galaxian, it's not Galaga. So let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, jump, throw. So it looks like Diddy I was too close to Diddy, right? So I'm gonna try it again. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So like, okay, it's not connecting. So then I just do stuff like this. I'm like, what does it look like at 45 damage? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I almost killed him, right? The last 3 hits were a combo. You're like, well, I want it even more secure, so let's go with this one. 1, 2, 3. Oop, that's a bell. Well, that's supposed to be one of these Galaxians. There we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 6 damage. So 6 combos right there. 39 damage combo. Confirmable off of a dash attack. You're like, that's pretty good. Well, you can work out a lot of that stuff, but the next thing I like to do is, you know, put the computer on attack. So he's going to go a little crazy, and I'm going to try to get the same combo off. Oops. I'm going to waste that and get him back to 50. So you realize, oh, like, even when you're charging it, you're not safe. So you got to actually work in how to dodge your opponent while staying safe. And then you got to, like, oh, if Diddy's in the corner, I can't do the dash attack because it pushes him off the stage. So I got to find a way to get Diddy back over here and dodge his F smash and taunt him. So he's not going to come back, so I'm going to rinse him off the stage. This doesn't do any damage, so he's still in my window. I'm going to make sure he doesn't have a... Cool. Dash attack. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. And the second one missed because I was a little too far away. So as you can see, when playing the actual game, even with a computer like this, lots of different things that happen. Your hits may not land exactly where you want to. The computer, even though it doesn't really DI well, can still DI, like directional influence. You got to really play on your toes. Just playing Smash Brothers on a basic level means that you have to do a lot of adaptation. Because check this one out. So this is a new combo I didn't even know existed. At 70 damage, you can up tilt, up air, up air. That's 27 damage. That's a good combo from one tilt. Not a lot of characters can do this in the game. Pac-Man's pretty unique. So you can also, what is it? Grab one of these. The key, which travels really fast and straight, like you can see this. 15 damage alone for the key. So I'm going to get another one. Like this. And I can go, okay, well, landing up air. Up air. Oh no. Try it again. up air, jump key. Ah, I missed. So you're like, oh, even when he's in a combo, what would otherwise be a combo, I got to make sure that the DI of the opponent is exactly what I need and adjust accordingly. Up air, key. There we go. If you get that just right, it's a 3-hit combo. But there's slight variations. So even when you're doing the same thing, even on a computer set to stop, slight variations can happen all the time. This game's crazy. So one interesting thing that I started to do while running through these little routines and trying to expand my knowledge of combos is, martial arts people practice all the time on like punching bags and on like rotating stick dummies where they're like doing the blocks and knocking in and it rotates around. They do the block on the other side and they do whatever. Like your ability to hone your skills is not dependent on necessarily exposing yourself to the actual like match and actual competition or actually fighting people, right? You can hone your skills, and it's mostly about sort of honing your mind, right? Finding something and thinking the right way and exercising the right ways to think, and then you could even get some good practice off of a really dumb computer like this. So one thing I did playing this computer is put him on attack, and notice that nobody plays like this. Like he shoots too many peanut pop guns, right? And he never picks up his banana. He just leaves it. And just shoots peanut pop guns all day. Like, this is a terrible player. If I saw this player in a tournament, I'd be like, you're going 0-2 in pools. But, so while this isn't going to get me any real skill against real Diddies, what I can do is start doing this. Like, okay, never get hit. Like, what can you do while never getting hit by Diddy, right? And then I got hit. You'll understand some basic movement that you can do. And then every time you see a peanut, try grabbing it and throwing it. And then every time you see a peanut, try insta-tossing it. Or air dodge catching it, just like that. And then he charges it in your face, and you got to learn how to react. See if you can perfect shield every peanut. It's not to grab. And then you can sort of refine your movement, right? And then you can try to stay as close as possible without actually getting hit. And like, how close can you be without getting hit by the banana or the peanut? And then you realize, like, oh, look, if you hang out in front of him for too long and just kind of basically tempt him, this guy will monkey flip. It's not every time. If you just hang out here, he'll do it. There's something in his programming was like, you know what, it's a good time to monkey flip. And oftentimes he does it when you're shielding too much. Like you're afraid of peanuts, there he goes. So it's a really cool thing. This computer may not be as fleshy and fresh as a human, but you can keep your eyes open for what it does and when it does it. So this computer obviously has randomness in its decision making, but it doesn't have so much randomness that you can't hedge your bets, right? So if you know that Diddy likes the monkey flip on your shield at a certain distance, you need to be at that distance, continue to maintain your evasiveness, your dodging, your techniques, your movement, maybe even look for combo opportunities, but then also make sure none of those things allow you to get trapped by a peanut or a monkey flip. So then I'm gonna try and show you what it looks like when you do that. Okay, that's not it. There we go. So like you can bait him and you can just anticipate the monkey flip already, right? I'm here, and the way you beat it is just by slowly moving backwards, and eventually he'll do it. I wasn't ready! I don't know why you were grabbing, Pac-Man! Yeah, okay, this L button's grab. Okay. He did it again! Okay, let me see if I can get one. Shield that, dance in face, even dash dance, throw that down so he doesn't attack me. Shield, run, shield, back up, shield the faster one. Oh, he got me. He held it extra long right there. I should have. And then he's probably going to monkey flip. Dang it! So I'm so busy talking, I can't keep my reflexes really sharp. But I'm like, I can tell you when he's going to monkey flip. It seems random, but like we discussed in that other really cool DL Live, it's a really high-level concept where in a situation where you feel like everything's random or everything's out of your control or you have to react to everything that's being presented to you, there's a certain level of control and understanding that you gain from well-designed systems or games or whatever. Not every system, but let's say good, well-designed systems, where instead of that feeling of you reacting to it and chasing it, you feel like it's chasing you. Like you're ahead of the game, you're anticipating things so well, you're influencing your opponent so well that it looks like it's responding to you. Like me calling out this Diddy monkey flipping, even though it's random, like how are you doing that? Like this is how. Everything is done, or especially for a computer AI, humans are the same way, but that's a whole whole different podcast stream. But everything that this computer does is for a reason. He'll never just like run off the stage and kill himself. Oh, he actually does occasionally do that, but you have to confuse him, right? So everything like, oh, he just did a landing forward air. Why did he do a landing forward air? Because he thought I was going to be next to him. That means when Diddy jumps, there's always a small chance of him doing a forward air. That was a pretty slick evasion right there. Practice my option selects, rollback option selects, they'll get shot. Yeah, see how he down smashed. So he will down smash or forward smash or forward tilt when you're in range, but only when it looks like you're busy and stunned. So if I tilt like this, see that? He immediately tilted. But I was out of range of his immediate F tilt and down tilt, and then I can get him to do things, right? So the challenge of this exercise, which is, I'm putting this on the stream for my brother to kind of check it out, because we're doing all kinds of experimental things and learning, is to get Diddy to do what you want and then counter it. Yeah, there's the monkey flip. I was already moving backwards. That's just a natural thing I started doing, knowing that in certain situations, Diddy will likely do it. Not all the time, but likely. And I just incorporate that into my general movement. It's not something that I'm reacting to. It's something that I've adapted to. My strategy is adapted. So I'm looking. Oh, that was a taunt. That was not good. So Diddy very rarely up tilts. I've almost never seen Diddy up tilt, but that's because I've almost never aggressively gone close to Diddy, threatened an aerial, but at the last second air dodged, and he tried to up tilt anti-air that. So that means Diddy is looking for a very precise window to anti-air. Let me show you another one. Diddy loves, so if you're late on your stuff, like let's say every time you peanut pop guns, I'm going to try to reverse aerial up air him like that. And half the time he shoots his pop gun before I can get there and he shields it. But whenever Diddy shields, he loves to counter you because you are technically in lag frames, right? And Diddy, as a computer, can perfectly read your lag frames and goes, I'm going to attack you. He loves doing up smash out of shield because it skips the 7 frames of shield drop and it goes straight for the attack. But because I know he loves doing that, I'm going to have my DI ready, my spacing ready or my DI ready. So if I'm in front of Diddy, he did it again. If I'm in front of Diddy, I'm going to have, I'm going to pull back, right? So like, look at this. Oop. Yeah. So Diddy can only hold that gun for so long. So after a while, I know either to spot dodge or to just get out of the way. So even though his reactions are really good and the bullet travels faster and faster, there are optimal ways to stand where you just take no risks. Here we go. Oh, anti-air. I just A-landed right there. So, boom. You're supposed to shield it, Diddy. You suck. Okay, so like, you see it late, you try to get him. Wow, Diddy. The Diddy on the DS releases early. Come on. Okay, here we go. Oh, he tried to anti-air me with the jump. He spot dodged. He spot dodged when I was standing in front of him. Computers almost never spot dodge. So I'm going to try to make him shield. He anti-aired me with a jab. Ridiculous. So then, you know, this is supposed to be a lot more straightforward. Shield my attack, Diddy. Quit throwing bananas. Oh well. Let me see if the audio is too loud still. Because I don't think it is. Let me see if the audio is too loud still. Because I don't think it is. Good, it's really soft, so I might as well turn it up a little bit. Okay. So, Diddy, stop it. Okay. Shield my thing, Diddy. Boom. Okay, shield. Wow. Wow, this Diddy sucks. But Diddy's like to aggressively perfect shield. Maybe I'll jab him and show you what he does. If you jab Diddy at the maximum range, he gets a little aggressive, but only after getting there. He rolls almost every time. Diddy will almost roll, either get hit or roll. And he almost never rolls away from you unless his back is turned to you and he feels like he can't shield grab or retaliate any other way. So look. If I get behind Diddy and jab him, oops. Behind him, jab, jab. Oh, I turn him around, shield it. Okay, shield it. Shield, there. See, he rolled, but he rolled behind me because his back was turned. So let's get him to roll behind and then be ready for it. You jab, 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 and you rolled away. Jab, 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 jab. All right, he's really jab, jab. Jab. There he goes. Ready for it. And then you start to hone your reflexes because you kind of know what his habits are. When you're playing real players, you really do want to pick up on their habits, and it really is as easy as just kind of setting them up and watching them fall because they're habits. People don't have that much control over their habits. So let's see if I can get in close to jab jab. He's probably going to jump aerial if I hang out here too much. And there's a monkey flip. I was already ready for it. There's a jump. If I was in place, he would have aerialed me. Jab. He landed with an aerial, but he was out of position in his back air. Yeah, there he goes. He gets a little antsy when he jumps too much because he doesn't want to get jabbed. He actually jumps and looks for an aerial. Jab, 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 jab. He rolled away. I need to be ready to respond to that with a walk forward. So I'm going to try to do single jabs. Single jabs. Watch out. Yep, he loves to down air. There. He tried to up tilt me, but I wasn't jumping there. This guy's so silly. So another exercise I started to do is, okay, if you can kind of play well enough and strong enough, try to guarantee that all your grabs connect. Like Pac-Man's grab, if you didn't know, it's terrible. Look how slow this is. It's slow, and it barely works. Like, check this out. That worked. Dang it. It has holes in it. I wish I could show you. So. Look at that. His animation pushed him into it, but like the blue lines can go in their body and it just doesn't grab them. Not good enough. So this grab leaves me exposed for a long period of time. So I'm going to try to make sure that I'm going to hone my reactions and make him do something that I can react with there. To a grab, I could have done that if I wasn't on the ground. I could have grabbed that, but he dashed. Jab, jab. Nope. And jab. There we go. He air dodged close to the ground. I could react to that. He rolled in. I could react to that. I'm grabbing him. Watch out. I could have reacted to that, but it was a gamble. Oh, almost air dodged in time. Peanut pop gun. Got hit in the face. Oh, down smash. Ah, his forward air was faster. So now, when I'm just trying to do one different thing, there he goes. Oh, so close. Trying to tempt him to do a smash or something reactable. Smash the eye out. There we go. He's pressing me into the corner, so I'll just throw this to get him off my trail. Yeah, clap. Oh, and then he air dodged it. See, and that wasn't a good situation to throw that laggy move out. I need to actually look at the perfect situation. If I land straight in front of him after he fires his, I could have grabbed that. Popcorn, I can grab him just like that. So you get really precise on your timing, and you gotta also never be sloppy and never just take hits just because you're training. Like always pretend like this is real and you don't want to get hit. Oh. Got him. I'm going to try to get him a forward smash. If I play close enough and then back out with a crawl, I think he's going to do it. So he's going to monkey flip. He's a little antsy. Now he's not going to monkey flip because he's too close. So he may forward smash, especially if I go around and then spot dodge and forward smash. No. Monkey flip. I'm already ready for it. Ah! Don't shoot me. Forward smash now. There! Oh, but I spot dodge. I should have perfect pivoted back like this. Perfect pivot back. And then done a freaking standing grab. That would have been freaking perfect. So, you can see me live here. Going through my thought process. Playing the game. Trying to refine a lot of my things. My inputs I'm trying to refine. I'm trying to refine my timing. Trying to refine my knowledge. Trying to do things in some areas so that the other areas are easier, right? So I can't react to everything. You can't react to the monkey flip sometimes. Some stuff is just too fast. But if you anticipate it and then you're already out of the way when it's happening, it really feels like all of a sudden it's easy to react to. Like you jump, Diddy monkey flips, like why would you do that? And then you punish him, you're like, why are you so slow, Diddy? What's up? What's wrong with you? But the difference between feeling that level of control and not is a matter of lots of different aspects of the skill spectrum working, and particularly your ability to adapt, right? Like, I already know what Diddy is going to do. I already know a lot of the frame data for this game. I know his attacks. I know my attacks. I'm not learning much of anything new here, right? I'm just applying it, adapting it, and then just trying to keep myself sort of conscious enough to make it all work. So it's just another reason why I love Smash Brothers. Even training mode, I played this more than I played most video games. I played Pac-Man versus Diddy on this level in training mode more than I played most video games, right? And we can just look at my stats here. In the hours played, like most games don't get up to 20. Most games don't get up to 15, 20 hours. So I've played training mode just in this one example longer than I played most video games. It's because it's so deep. There's so much to do. And that's what's really cool about skill-based... Oh, you guys can't see that very well. That's what's really cool about skill-based games, right? The reason why they're deep is not because you need to spend a lot of time to play it. It's because as you play it, you're digging deeper and deeper into like yourself, into things you know, into ways that you think, into ways that you see both the game and how that reflects on the world and other things. So it's deep because it's creating this sort of opportunity and canvas for you to go all the way and never have a dull moment doing so, right? You're always going to need to apply your mind. You're always going to need to stay fresh. There's always something to practice, always something to refine. And that's what I love about video games like this. So that pretty much wraps up our stream on Adaptation. The sun is setting. It's getting a little dark here. I'm going to get back to programming. Just a quick shout out to my game Enlighten. I'll show you the tweet. Twitter.com/Richard. I've been working on an AI system for this game because I'm trying to take everything I know about skill and learning and game design and help other people appreciate and learn and know it for themselves. This latest thing I'm working on is a visual scripting AI system, so where you can kind of dump your mind into the game and kind of see it working. Because oftentimes players have stuff in here, but they don't realize how much more they can put up there. They don't realize how to like take certain things out or swap certain things in. And a lot of the ways they think is super inflexible. So I'm going to try to get them to put their mind into the game and utilize lots of interesting tools and settings to sort of boost their learning process. In order to do so, I'm making this scripting system, and I'm also making a system where the game can kind of look at how you play and hopefully be able to help you along in understanding your own methodology. So yeah, wish me luck. Join us in the Discord. Follow Gritchard here on Twitter if you are curious about progress on this game. And until next time, guys, peace.